I wanted to show you a clip of John Kirby being asked about the ruling. Of course, he's, as people know, he's the coordinator for strategic communications at the National Security Council. Okay, here's what he had to say about it.
Kirby, I wanted to ask you about the World Court decision ordering Israel to prevent acts of genocide, but it stopped short of ordering a ceasefire. You have suggested multiple times that South Africa's claim does not really have merit. And I'm wondering, how does the U.S. repair relations with South Africa, which is a big voice for non-aligned countries in the global South?
I don't believe that our disagreement over the founding claim of the allegation causes any permanent damage to the bilateral relationship with South Africa. We just happen to disagree on that point. But we're also going to keep working on that relationship as we do many others.
So you fundamentally believe the U.S., they claim that the U.S. is supporting a genocidal state. That is not going to impact relations with South Africa.
I don't believe I heard that from South Africa. South Africa filed a case based on allegations that they believe genocide was being conducted by Israel in Gaza. I don't believe it was directed at us at all. We simply have said consistently we find that claim is unfounded. And you know, the court also did not find Israel guilty of genocide.
So he's saying there the court did not find Israel guilty of genocide. What do you say to people say, well, they said that it's a plausible case?
I mean, look, remember, this is the guy who arrogantly stated not just that he disagreed with the case, but the case was baseless, groundless, and without merit.
Meritless, right, without merit, yeah.
The exact phrase is. And now he's got to contend with the fact that the World Court, the International Court of Justice, has said, sorry, but we see a plausible case for genocide. And it's strong enough that we're ordering provisional measures to protect people from these acts, right? So he needs to read a little bit on the International Court of Justice. This is the first hearing on provisional measures. They have come down 100% on the side of South Africa. They have found a plausible case of genocide, and they have ordered these provisional measures. And now they will proceed. To the merits. But his claim that it is baseless and without merit and whatever was the entire phrase, he's already lost. He's been disproven in this regard. And you know, he can say, well, it's got nothing to do with us. But as we have discussed on your show already, you know, there is a separate crime under the Genocide Convention, which is the crime of complicity. And the United States government and individual actors, including himself, in my view, have been complicit in this genocide, which is a separate crime. And today, when everybody was focused on the preliminary ruling of the International Court of Justice, there's another court case going on in California, brought by the Center for Constitutional Rights in American courts, seeking to hold accountable Biden and Blinken and others for complicity in genocide. And so he is not off the hook in trying to distance himself from this. I think he's very much on the defensive. So the World Court has taken up a case of genocide against Israel. It has rejected the procedural challenges, the questions of jurisdiction, the questions of standing, and it has said all of these things apply. And it has found that South Africa has made a plausible case for genocide in Gaza. That's the first thing. That is historic with a capital H. However, Kirby wants to try to spin it. And it's gone even further and ordered these provisional measures saying you have to stop what you have been doing effectively. And it's not the end. You know, there are cases pending in the International Criminal Court. There will be cases pending in other third-party courts under universal jurisdiction. And I think they know that they're on the defensive. And I think it explains a lot of the fig leaf harvesting that you've seen the U.S. government engaged in with these, you know, bragging about negotiating a trickle of trucks and encouraging the Israelis, you know, to kill less civilians in the midst of a genocide and so on. They know very well that they are exposed. And beyond being legally exposed, they are politically exposed. I mean, I think that the final nail in the coffin of Joe Biden's election campaign came with his support for genocide and the rejection of his candidacy as a result by young people, by progressives, by American Muslims and American Arabs, by large numbers of people of color, by progressive Jewish communities. He didn't have an edge, and whatever edge he may have had is now gone as a result of that. So there will be political accountability as well for those who have done this. And then, the other thing is, as I said, this has revealed a part of the story that has been blocked for U.S. audiences by American politicians like Kirby, but also by corporate media stations that have tried to maintain an information brownout about the genocide happening to make sure people in the West are not aware of it. So they only get little fragments about some war between Hamas and Israel and what happened on October 7th. And maybe there's a few excessive acts by Israel, but they don't get the story of the horror that has been unfolding for more than 3 months. And some of those media companies have actively disseminated Israeli propaganda, dehumanizing rhetoric about Palestinians, actual incitement to genocide, even justifying war crimes like attacks on hospitals by circulating these stories, just as Kirby himself has done, by the way. And so now, as the story is getting out, they're trying like crazy to downplay how badly Israel has lost this stage of the proceedings by focusing on the ceasefire question. Well, they didn't order a ceasefire. And now Kirby trying to say, well, he didn't have a finding of genocide. Well, they haven't gotten to the final finding,
Right.
but they've said it's plausible. So anyway, they tried to spin this. They're not going to get away with it. This is a crack in not just in Israel's 75-year wall of impunity, but also in the U.S. government's impunity for complicity in these crimes.
And we have one more clip of Kirby, which I want to show you to ask you about both what he says, but something he's wearing, which we'll get to at the end of it, which Brad pointed out. Okay.
Well, the death toll in Gaza is staggering, reportedly now more than 26,000. Is there anything at this point that would stop the president from supporting Netanyahu?
We continue to believe that Israel needs to get the support that they need to defend themselves against a still viable threat by Hamas, an organization that wants to wipe them off the map. So we're going to continue to support Israel. At the same time, we can still continue to urge Israel to be more careful and more precise. We can continue to urge Israel to get more humanitarian assistance in.
Does the president still believe his personal diplomacy with Netanyahu is as effective as it was earlier in this war?
It is as vital now as it was on the 7th of October. And I fully expect that you'll continue to see the president and Prime Minister Netanyahu engage appropriately.
So to clarify, there is no red line, there is no point at which the president would stop his...
I would just tell you that we continue to believe the approach that we've been taking on behalf of Israel to help them, as well as on behalf of the people of Gaza to help them, is showing results, and we're going to continue that approach.
I don't know what results he's talking about, but
Well, I think it's pretty clear. I mean,
yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, either they are really intellectually limited and clueless, or the results that they see happening in Gaza are the results that they want to happen in Gaza, which is a complete ethnic
Right.
purge of Gaza, the destruction of civilian life there and civilian infrastructure there, leading to an eventual solution where the people of Gaza are no longer an issue because they won't be there for the most part. And there you heard it. I mean, he not only did he say there are no red lines to
Right.
Israel, but he gave a full, enthusiastic, and unwavering commitment to continuing to be complicit in what it is that Israel is doing. And people struggle with words around what it is the United States is doing. And early on, so did I. But they've gone from tolerating to enabling to be complicit to being an actual joint party in genocide in Gaza. I don't think there's any other way to read this. And so the only challenge now is impunity, how to hold these people accountable. And I think history will certainly hold them accountable. But in the meantime, we have to do everything we can to rein in this abuse of power that is being practiced by these two governments in the destruction of Gaza.
Mm. Well, check this out. Brad noticed this, by the way. Let's see this freeze frame of Kirby. You see he has something around his neck?
Uh-huh.
So Israel War Room tweeted, Kirby appeared at his podium today wearing the dog tag. Class act as usual from him. White House is John Kirby receives a symbolic dog tag from a father of a young Israeli that is held hostage by Hamas in Gaza. It says, "Bring them home now." Isn't that moving? I mean,
Very
you'd
touching.
think that he would be upset at Israel for bombing places that hostages could be, if he cared about the hostages.
You just have to wonder who is in charge. I mean, you really do. I mean, this is a senior government official in the Biden administration standing at an official podium, speaking ostensibly on behalf of the United States of America, but all of the symbolism and all the commentary doesn't suggest that that's who he is. He is a former admiral in the IDF, as far as I can tell from the positions that he's
Right.
that he's taking. But he's been of all of the U.S. officials, and I've said one piece of evidence of complicity beyond the arming and the financing and the intelligence support and the vetoes and the diplomatic cover and all of that. But another piece of complicity has been precisely the use of the podiums of official U.S. government agencies, especially his, to disseminate Israeli propaganda, dehumanization, justification for war crimes, and so on. And he's definitely, on the first page of that catalog. He's been doing that since the beginning of this assault. And I don't see this man suddenly growing a conscience. And he's another one who's famous for, talking about how he supports everything that's happening. And then when he's asked a question, throwing out fig leaves. We continue to engage with them on making sure that they're respecting humanitarian law. I mean, really at this stage, respecting humanitarian law, and letting in a trickle of trucks, and then trying to claim that is proof that the U.S. is taking a moral position, and we're supposed to ignore everything else that they're doing, including being a co-perpetrator in this genocide.